Torat Emet. We believe in truth. We believe that God gave the Torah to Moses at Mount Sinai. We believe that in the Torah there are eternal values, not subject to the vagaries and vicissitudes of history. It is this pursuit of truth that animates our intense study of Torah during the day and deep into the night, which in turn deepens our relationship with God. But we also believe that our goal is not simply to sit, study, and live in some ivory tower, that we must be fully engaged in the world and responsible to the world. We do not just believe in Torat Emet, but also Torat Chayim, that our truths and values must live in the world. Who are our graduates? They are rabbis and Jewish educators. They are lawyers and doctors, accountants and financial analysts, social workers and psychologists, mothers and fathers, community leaders, and leaders of industry, all of whom are out in the world acting daily as productive citizens of society. And we are uniquely qualified to raise engaged Jewish citizens for whom Judaism is vibrant and essential to their lives. Many of our students come to campus with a full day school education. Some of our students come from public school with little to no previous Jewish education. Here in Yeshiva University, our students find friends for life and often even soulmates and partners for life. Here in Yeshiva University, our students have the opportunity not to just learn about Judaism, but to experience Judaism, to appreciate that Shabbat is not just something we keep, it is something we treasure, and that living a life of faith adds great meaning and joy to one's life. Moreover, at this moment in time, as cultures shift and moral intuitions inevitably adjust, all parents know how difficult it is to help their children navigate the tension between tradition and an ever-increasingly complex world. Yeshiva University, located at the nexus between tradition and pioneering, provides the students of the next generation with the tools of critical critique and self-reflection, so they can not only weather the storms and tempests of contemporary moral discourse, but also leave here both rooted and nimble, anchored in our values, and equipped with the language and sophistication necessary to succeed as leaders in the world of tomorrow. By offering in one institution a comprehensive, integrated educational program that produces the Jewish leaders of the next generations who are firmly committed, forward-focused, engaged in the world, and pillars of society, Yeshiva University is the world's premier Jewish educational institution. Why do I feel like Marco Rubio? But Yeshiva University is not just for its Jewish students. We are also proud to include a large non-Jewish population in our graduate programs. And this message applies to you as well. The educational philosophy of Torah Umada is based on Maimonides' directive to accept the truth from whatever source it comes. We know that there are great truths to be discovered in the study of the human mind, the physical world, literature, legal interpretation, and more. Our belief in the higher purpose of education is true for all of humanity. In addition, Torat Chayim requires everyone to be engaged in the project of applying these values and truths to the world. And we look to all of our faculty and intellectual leaders to guide us in this effort. As such, by utilizing our vast interdisciplinary resources, Yeshiva University is uniquely positioned to address the most pressing moral issues of the day. In an era in which there's a breakdown of civil and civic discourse, we stand proud as educators, thought leaders, and moral voices for our generation. These are our first two values, Torat Emet and Torat Chayim. But Yeshiva University does not only believe in truth, it also believes in humanity. Our tradition teaches us that each individual is created in God's divine image, and that it is a sacred task for each individual to hone and develop their unique talents and skills. In addition, We are charged with the obligation to use these unique gifts in the service of others, to care for our fellow human beings, to reach out to them in thoughtfulness, kindness, and sensitivity. These two values, humanity and compassion, are our next two Torot, Torat Adam and Torat Chesed. One of the aspects of Yeshiva University that simply amazed me when I was walking around the campuses in the spring is how these two values manifest themselves in each of our schools. For example, in Cardozo, Professor Jocelyn Getkin-Kestenbaum leads the Ferenz Human Rights and Atrocity Prevention Clinic, which fights against human rights violations and genocides around the world. Dr. Bill Salton heads the Pardes Clinic of the Furkoff School of Psychology, which provides low-cost, high-quality psychological treatment for a Bronx population that would otherwise not be able to afford it. The Wurzweiler School of Social Work is launching a new initiative of mental health clinics which will help people from all walks of life cope with life stress issues. When I was visiting the Albert Einstein College of Medicine with Dr. Ed Burns, we encountered a group of scientists sitting around the table, and I was introduced to them as super scientists. And that was amazing. I've never met super scientists before. So I asked them, what do you do? What is the research of super scientists? And each shared with me their work on some matter crucial to the betterment of humanity. One was a leader in the fight against AIDS, another the Zika virus, a third breast cancer. And this spirit not only exists in our graduate schools, but in our undergraduate schools as well. I was walking in the library one night, and I encountered two Yeshiva University undergraduate students wearing Yeshiva University t-shirts. I asked them from where are they coming, and they said the Start Science program. What is the Start Science program? It's a program where over 100 Yeshiva University undergraduate students go every week to the local Manhattan public schools to teach the children science and technology. Now this was amazing to me, but it was only later that I discovered that it was a Yeshiva University undergraduate student 7 years ago that actually launched this initiative, and this project is subsequently spread to chapters in countries across the world. And this is emblematic of our student body, as hundreds of our students participate in these kinds of programs throughout the academic year, channeling their unique talents into extraordinary acts of kindness. Just last week, our Student Life Department initiated student-led missions to Houston to help our fellow citizens recover from Harvey within minutes. Our sign-up sheet had over 100 students volunteering to go, and this is what we do. At Yeshiva University, we teach our students to fight for justice, to fight for the underprivileged, to fight against violence, and to fight against disease. But most of all, at Yeshiva University, we teach our students to fight against indifference. The values of Torat Adam and Torat Chesed pervade our entire university, fusing a lofty sense of human dignity with an inspiring commitment to compassion. These are our first four principles: Torah that is true, Torah that's alive, a belief in human capacity, and the need to reach out to others. The fifth principle is Torat Tzion, the Torah of redemption. Torat Tzion, of course, relates to the project of building the modern state of Israel. And this is very important to us as proud Zionists. We are proud Zionists. We certainly encourage students to move to Israel, and we encourage those who live outside of Israel to devote their time and resources to help Israel further its role as a shining light to humanity. But it's also much more than that, because return to Israel and Jewish theology is in and of itself part of a much greater narrative. Torat Tzion tells us that we are not accidents of history, nor simply participants in history, but we are drivers of history. Torat Tzion requires us to understand that as human beings, we all have one common overarching goal, and that is to redeem the world and transform it for the better. To birth a world suffused by justice, goodness, prosperity, and transcendence. As Martin Luther King Jr. proclaimed, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, then Torat Tzion charges us with the task of moving history forward. This directive applies to all of humanity. And at this moment in time, more than at any other moment in the entire scope of Jewish history, the Jewish people are capable of partnering with the full breadth of humanity to move history forward. Let me share with you a personal story that illustrates this point. My wife's grandmother, Bubby, is an extraordinary woman who survived the Holocaust by evading the Nazis, hiding in caves, forests, and cemeteries. She was born in Poland and had a large family, including her brother Pinchas, to whom she was very close. Her childhood sweetheart Shlomo eventually became her husband, and together they lived a relatively quiet life in Poland. But then the Nazis invaded. They entered their town and gathered and killed all of the Jews. Bubby managed to escape with her husband Shlomo and a few of their nephews and nieces, but no one else in their large family was as fortunate. She never left her husband's side, and together they managed to evade the Germans and made their way to Romania. Following the war, they left Europe and went to Cuba, and after the rise of Castro, they fled once again, this time to New York. Fast forward the story by a couple of decades, and one day Bubby received a phone call from a friend of hers. Sila, she said, "You need to sit down. I have something astounding to tell you. I just returned from a trip to the Soviet Union, and your brother Pinchas, he is alive. You ran east, he escaped west. You each thought the other was dead, but Pinchas is alive." Bubby immediately wrote to Pinchas. They communicated, but they never met one another, for Pinchas died soon after. But Pinchas had a daughter named Gala, and Gala married Vladimir, and they had a son that they named Pinchas after their father. When the Iron Curtain fell, they all made Aliyah and moved to Israel. Shortly thereafter, Anita and I were studying in Yeshiva University Center in Israel. And at the end of that year, Anita gave birth to our first son, whom we named Shlomo, after her grandfather, who had recently passed away. I still remember the scene when Bubby came to Israel for the bris. She was sitting with her new great-grandson Shlomo on her lap, when in came a woman who carried a clear family resemblance. It was her niece Gala, whom she had never previously met. And with Gala came a little boy named Pinchas. And when Pinchas ran over to see the baby, once again Bubby was surrounded by Pinchas and Shlomo. You see, they thought that they could kill us. They thought that they could remove us from the earth. But Pinchas and Shlomo were alive again. And this time they connected with each other in Jerusalem, the capital of the modern Jewish state of Israel. Bubby's life represents the dramatic story of the Jewish people in the modern era, a story of an indomitable spirit able to transcend destruction and to rebuild the lost world. And it is my great joy at this point to pause for a moment and acknowledge the presence of a woman who's over 100 years old, Bli Ayin Hara, who is here with us today celebrating the investiture of her grandson. Ladies and gentlemen, my Bubby. To me, this story highlights the reality of the Jewish world today, as it provides a stark contrast with the Jewish world of yesterday. The prophet Ezekiel foretells a wondrous future in which the dried bones of Israel are brought back to life. But for us living today, we know that this is no dream. It describes our reality. Pinchas and Shlomo, once left for dead, have now returned in a new generation. And look at the world that they face today. It is an era that is simply unprecedented in Jewish history. We live in an era both miraculous and wondrous. The Jewish people are no longer lost in exile, but have once again returned to their homeland. Torah study is open and accessible throughout the world. Where once we might have looked at our neighbors and saw only persecutors, today we may look at them and see potential partners. And this presents us not only with great opportunities, but also great responsibilities. Rabbi Soloveitchik, in 1956, in this very room, from this pulpit, some of you were in that room on Yom Ha'atzmaut when he said, Kol Dodi Dofek, that the voice of God is metaphorically calling to us in our era, knocking at our door. He has placed us in this incredible time, and he beckons us to respond. Yeshiva University represents the kinds of thinkers and dreamers who have always believed in embracing history and its opportunities. Now, more than ever before, it is time to think bigger, to think beyond our individual selves, to move history forward, to spread positive values to the world, and to fight for peace and prosperity for all of humanity and with all of humanity. Torat Emet, Torat Chayim, Torat Adam, Torat Chesed, and Torat Tzion. Truth, life, humanity, compassion, and redemption. These are the 5 Torot that differentiate us. They are our identity. They root us deeply within a structured value system while providing moral guidance and direction in living our lives. They propel us to develop our talents and skills while directing us to reach outwards and connect to others in kindness. And they inspire us with a grand historic purpose to make a difference and impact the world. This is what we believe Judaism is. This is what it represents. This is what God wants from all of us. This is not just about modern orthodoxy or even orthodoxy. These are our messages to the Jewish people and to the world at large. This is who we are. This is our philosophy of life.